believe it or not, I believe that this is probably one of the coolest shoes of all time, even though some people might disagree because you think they're ugly. But every time I see these, especially in this colorway, I don't know, I smile a little bit inside and outside. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review on these bad boys right here. This is the 2025 edition of the Nike Air Foamposite Pro in the Pearl colorway. This was the debut colorway of this shoe, and it is gorgeous. And this particular colorway was supposed to be designated to Scottie Pippen, or at least that's the way that like some of the original ads that did end up making it out were depicted. But he's not tied to this shoe whatsoever. The story goes that Penny saw the shoe first, really loved it, and that's how we got the Foamposite 1. One of the more interesting things though is that this shoe is so expensive to manufacture that Nike decided to then go and make a secondary version that was not actually a takedown. Like, this is not a takedown of the Foamposite 1. It's essentially the same shoe with only like 2 minor changes, one of which being visual, the other being performance, and that's pretty much it. Like, this is like a weird shoe in the realm of like signatures and takedowns, or really expensive shoes and takedowns and stuff like that. The shoe itself debuted in 1997 and then saw its first retro release in 2002, and then there was a special House of Hoops exclusive version in 2009. There was a wider release of that same version in 2010, so kind of the same shoe, even though technically not. And then the last retro is in 2015. We actually have a review on those. That was my first pair in this particular colorway. Actually, I think it was my first pair of Foamposite Pros, period. And it was actually released in a 2-pack in commemoration or celebration of the movie He Got Game. And it was 2 of the shoes that Ray Allen, AKA Jesus Shuttlesworth, his character in the movie, wore on court or throughout the film. So it was these packaged up with the Air Hawk Flight that was most known for being on the feet of Gary Payton. And now you know, fast forward, I guess you could say, to 2025, and man, this took forever, dude. Like, this, why hasn't this shoe released since then? It's probably because mine still look good. You know what I mean? Like, these look dope. So yeah, they are a little bit different. So some of the differences that you will see is the overall shape of things. The toes are slightly altered, but not too much. The height, as far as the collars go, the new one is just a little bit lower. It's not anything crazy. The posit material is a little bit different as well. The new version is that softer posit, so it breaks in faster and molds to your foot quicker. Obviously, you can tell which one's the older one because the outsoles are, you know what I mean? Like, they're a little bit yellow. It is interesting though that you can see that the new one is less opaque, I suppose you could say. So it's a little bit harder to see the carbon underneath there, whereas the last version is very similar to the original, where it's just straight up translucent. Lastly, the uppers kind of like pearlescent look is kind of more creamy on this last version from 2015, whereas the new version looks more like the original. So I that. Now, the Foamposite Pro is just an interesting shoe because it's supposed to just be, like the name states, the Pro version of the Foamposite 1. So they were done up in multiple colorways, unlike the Foamposite 1, which originally released in one single colorway, which is crazy, especially for a shoe that cost that much. There was no way Nike was going to let that thing go and just manufacture and release one pair. So their way around that was by doing this. Now, the outsole on these guys is the main difference in terms of overall look and performance from the Foamposite 1. Instead of a full-length herringbone outsole, we have herringbone still, but they're done up in individual traction pods. They're also made up in like flex grooves, so this is pretty cool. So we've got more flexibility in this particular outsole, even though the overall performance between the two models is pretty much the same. You've got a massive carbon fiber shank that is not just a spring plate, but also a midfoot chassis as well. So it rides up on the lateral side for containment. It rides all the way underneath for, again, stability, control, and spring. It makes the shoe a little bit stiff to start if you're trying to play in them. It also makes them pretty stiff to start if you're just wearing them casually, but the more that you wear it, the more that thing will break in, so you'll be good to go. The midsole and the cushioning is very interesting. It's all double lasted, meaning that all of that stuff is housed within the upper, so you got this like seamless look. The original intent behind stuff like this is that you get the shoe to fit and clamp down on your foot closer, so you get a better one-to-one fit for performance. I know a lot of people wear stuff like this now casually, so those types of things don't really matter to them, but everything in terms of function and design is there. It's just whether or not you choose to use them for that. And believe it or not, there are people that still hoop in these things and they swear by them. Now, that midsole does feature a full-length Zoom Air unit, and then in the heel there's an additional one. So in the rear of the shoe there is double stack Zoom Air, which is cool. On top of all of that is this insole right here. It's pretty standard in terms of Foamposites. It hasn't really changed since '97. These, in my opinion, are stupid comfortable. I do think that they feel more comfortable straight out of the box than, say, something similar like the Air Jordan 12. But both shoes do need some break-in time, whether they're on or off court, so just keep that in mind if this is your first pair. Now the upper is polyurethane, so that's something that's really interesting and unique about the Foamposite is that this starts off as a liquid and then they pour it into an upside down mold, which then creates the overall shape of the upper. So it's a much different process than a standard shoe where you're cutting out materials and sewing them together, or as modern times, either knitting them together because they're all textiles or hot melting them together with a fuse-like material. Although I suppose it's kind of like a mixture of all of them. You know what I mean? You're using heat, liquid, textiles.
Sugar, spice, have everything nice.
They're all in here. And one of the visual changes between this and the Foamposite 1 would be the Nike swoosh on the side. So some people prefer them without the swoosh. I think that the swoosh kind of makes this shoe look even cooler. So I do gravitate towards the Foamposite Pros a little bit more than the Foamposite 1s in terms of overall looks are concerned. Now the eye stay is synthetic nubuck, just the way that it should be. There is an internal booty system. It's made up of an open-celled mesh. When you're comparing this to the last version, some of the differences are also in the sizes of the branding. So the swoosh on this new pair is a little bit smaller than the last version. And same thing with the rear of the shoe where you see the swoosh that is outlined in red. This pair is just a little bit more condensed and small versus the other version, which was a little bit more enlarged. And that's pretty much all she wrote. If you're looking for a pair of these, they do fit true to size. A lot of people do go up half a size for Foamposites. I think that's a big mistake. So I would go true to size because once they mold to your foot, they're pretty much perfect 1-to-1. If you're local to the Sacramento or Elk Grove area, make sure that you stop over at Phenom. They're gonna have these available at both locations. If you wanna know their launch procedures, you're gonna have to follow them over at Instagram, simply at Phenom Global. And with that being said, what is today's, what?
Jody submitted question.
Oh man, you messed this up again. What's happening?
Only because, so we did the Mojave 11s, and I feel like every other comment was, wow, these are like
boots
and like super cool, or like
people hated them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, to use a word that you use, they're very polarizing.
Or jarring.
And so I was curious, what in your opinion, and everybody else's opinions, is the most polarizing sneaker of 2025? Since we're going into the end of the year here.
Don't know if I can answer that because I don't know about every release. I know that there's lots of stuff.
I know, but what's something that comes to mind? Because the second one I would say is the Jaw 3s. Like, I feel like I hear a lot of people being like, oh, those are so cool, and then, oh, those are so trash.
Yeah, I think that the reason behind that though is that they think they're cool, so they buy them, they play in them, and then they're like, huh.
They don't love them.
Yeah, and I warn people about that they're not gonna be for everybody. Like that upper doesn't contain like something like this or something else. Because I wouldn't even consider that polarizing. I would just say that that's such a out there design that it's captivating. It makes people talk about the shoe, much like something like this originally would. I think that that's missing in shoes. Like everything kind of like looked the same. I suppose you could say the AE2s, because when people saw them, like granted there were 3 leaked versions, so like nobody knew what they were gonna actually look like when they released, but man, it had people talking. Like they were not with those compared to the AE ones. Outside of that, I really don't, there's so many shoes that release that I don't actually pay much attention to that like I know that there's like still like big chunky runners, and there's like some Pharrell and Adidas shoe that kind of look cool, but they're also like fat looking, you know what I mean? So like they're like really interesting. At least I'm pretty sure it's Pharrell, but I don't feel like I'm equipped enough to give a real answer. I can only give like a what I've seen answer, and I don't know. So those would be some of my options, I suppose.
Now everybody else.
Feel free. Start typing. But with that being said, let us know what you think about the Foamposite Pro Pearls. Are you excited that they're finally back again? Are you going after a pair? I think that this is just, like if you're a foam head, this is a must-have. And if you're new to Foamposites, I think this is a good one to start with. But thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. So until then, you guys have a good one. These are so f***ing pretty. They're just...
Only a mother could love it.
No, they're just beautiful. Like what a great looking shoe. I love these so much. I wish I could wear them more often.
Mama Wing.
What'd you say? Mama Wing?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, you're its mama.
And no, I'm not. Eric Avar is its mama. Okay? He's a legend.